And good afternoon, members. We'll be starting off our webinar for this afternoon. We have an interesting topic, an interesting speaker lined up for you. Allow me to project the program. I'll be your host for this webinar. My name is Brian Omengo. I'm the head of strategic business units at the Kenya Institute of Management. Today, we have the head of shared services sitting in for the executive director, Dr. Murithi Ndegwa. So I'll go straight into the program. After the brief introduction, we'll get the opening remarks and introduction of the speaker. This will be done by the head of shared services, Mr. Raymond Mwangi, on behalf of Dr. Murithi Ndegwa. Then shortly after that session, we'll go straight into the keynote address by the speaker, Mrs. Kirote Mwiti, the head of talent at Africa Digital Media Institute. And then after that, as is the norm, we will move into the question and answer session. Members, please feel free to type in your questions into the chat box, and I will field these questions to our speaker to respond to them. Then after the question and answer session, we'll go straight into the closing remarks. At this point, allow me to welcome Mr. Raymond Mwangi to give us the opening remarks. Karibu HSS.
Thank you very much, Brian. I wish to welcome everyone to today's very interesting session, the future of work, building the workforce of the future. We have a very good speaker, Ms. Kirote Mwiti. I wish to take this opportunity also to welcome you as you present. As you're presenting this very interesting topic. I'm saying very interesting is because that this topic impacts both individuals and organizations as it helps us understand the future of workforce and therefore plan adequately for it. A recent research by Dell Technologies cites that 85% of the jobs. It says that 85% of the jobs that will exist in the year 2030 will have not been invented yet. So these jobs, we do not understand them. We do not know what they're going to be about. And therefore, it goes without saying that people will be entering our workforce by then are getting educated and being developed for jobs that they have no idea of. Even the organizations, we are developing people for jobs that we do not have any idea of. I'll give you an example. Some time back, if you were to do an M-Pesa reversal, you would be communicating to a human being. Today, if you do an M-Pesa reversal, it's fully automated from the point of view requesting, the point of the person being requested, if it is indeed they sent or received the money, up to reversal, meaning the person who was doing that job at some point has been redundant. This is the kind of scenario we're seeing that we'll be facing in 2030. Now, despite the certainty of AI, that is artificial intelligence, taking over most of the operations of the workplace, the traditional jobs give way to complete new ones. One thing remains: as long as the human race endures, people shall have to work. Therefore, the people need to be prepared for what the future holds. Organizations need to be prepared for the future if they are to survive. Handling change, which is inevitable, is one of the skills that will never become obsolete. Now, if you look at the baby boomers generation that is born 1946, 1964, Generation X, born 1965 to 1979, millennials, between 1980 to 1984, all these groups have tried to adapt to so many changes in the advent of digital technology. But there are two interesting and upcoming generations, Generation Z These are the ones born between 1995 to 2012, and the alpha generation, that is between 2013 to 2025. These two groups are yet to be stirred up for change. Yet these two generations comprise the future of workforce. In fact, these two groups have not been adequately researched for us to understand their workplace, their behavior at the workplace. So is really a generation that we are not very sure of how they behave at the workplace. And this is a generation that we will be working with in the future. Alluding to this simple analysis, we can confidently say that there is an urgent need to focus on Generation Z and Alpha for the future workplace. The assumption, and I say assumption, is that the millennials in the workforce now, often looked at as stubborn and ignorant, would ideally compromise the bigger percentage of leaders and leadership in many organizations in the near future. And I'm saying an assumption because they may be surpassed by the Generation Z and the Alpha generation in terms of leadership. Now, a selfish culture would have us look at ourselves, improve our adaptability to change, while amassing wealth to secure our future, and at most that of our children. But most importantly, our call, however, is to be more responsible for the future by thinking beyond ourselves. As managers, we have the responsibility not just over task-oriented results, but on people we lead. I think that should be the main focus in terms of developing people for the future. Thinking about the future of work beyond ourselves can drive us to grow our teams better, and this in turn will give will translate to better productivity while ensuring that the world as a whole is ready for work in the future. There are myriad dynamics to this subject, and I'm glad that we have Mrs. Nkirote Mwiti, a seasoned HR practitioner, to take us through these different dynamics. She is head of talent at African Digital Media Institute. I want to just bring in a quote by H. Jackson Brown Jr., who is a famous author, who has really captured it all in a sentence. And the quote is, "The best preparation for tomorrow is doing your best today." Now, I would want to give some key highlights of some activities at KIM before we go into introducing and giving a brief about our presenter today. 2023 KIM membership renewal is ongoing. We encourage members to renew their subscriptions in order to remain in good standing via paybill number 896-600, paybill number 896-600. I'm not sure if it's going to be projected. Account would be a membership number. If you have any queries, you can contact us through the telephone number 0712-200-969. I repeat, 0712-200-969, or email membership@kim.ac.ke. To register, please contact our KIM membership officer, Jeremiah Wanga, on telephone number 0703-840-345. I repeat, 0703-840-345, or email membership@kim.ac.ke. KIMSOM, you're all encouraged to register for the diploma and certificate courses, certification courses in all our branches countrywide, in all our 13 branches countrywide. January 2023 intake is ongoing in all our KIM branches countrywide. You can register, or you can refer a friend or family member to register for some of these waiting courses. KIM 2023 Company of the Year, that is Koya. SME of the Year, Moya. Manager of the Year, Moya. And CEO of the Year, now open for registration. To register, please contact KIM Manager Special Projects, Jacqueline Opande, on telephone number 0722-582-609. I repeat, 0722-582-609, or email jopande@kim.ac.ke, or register on our KIM website I think that will be projected. Forms are going to be uploaded on the Zoom chat box. KIM 2023 training calendar. KIM 2023 registration is ongoing for 2023 training programs. To register, please contact our training and conference manager, Anna Makove, on telephone number 0773 359 278. Repeat 0773 359 278, or email training@kim.ac.ke. Download a copy of our training calendar 2023 from our KIM website. This thing will be shared, the link will be shared on the chat box. Some of upcoming programs, TNC programs, training and conference programs, managing service quality and customer satisfaction in Mombasa from 20th February to 24th February 2023. Fleet and transport operations management program in Mombasa from 20th to 24th of this month. Advanced management and leadership program in Mombasa from February 27th to 3rd March. For more information, please contact us on 0773 359 278. I repeat, 0773 359 278, or email training@kim.ac.ke, or email training@kim.ac.ke for more information. For more details on KIM products, please interact with us on our chat box or visit our website, www.kim.ac.ke. I think now I'll take this opportunity to go ahead and give a brief on our presenter today before I introduce her to talk about the program. Brian, is this going to be projected? Okay, thank you, Brian. Okay, I'll give you the profile of our guest speaker today, Mrs. Nkirote Mwiti, Head of Talent, African Digital Media Institute, ADMI. Mrs. Nkirote is a seasoned human resource practitioner who is passionate about mental health in the workplace. She is fascinated by people and their stories, and consequently loves writing. Wow. So I take this opportunity to invite Mrs. Nkirote Mwiti to take us through this very exciting presentation or topic. Thank you. Karibu sana.
Thank you very much, Mr. Raymond Mwangi, for that warm welcome. So it was very entertaining to hear you struggling with my name. You've done a good job. Well done, well done. So thank you everybody for the honor of being your speaker this afternoon. I'm excited about this session, and I really look forward to the things that we're going to share. So before we begin, I want us to do a very simple exercise. Please follow my instructions. So please close your eyes. Everybody, close your eyes. I want you to take a deep breath in and out, relax. So with your eyes closed, I want you to travel back in time to your days in campus or college or whichever training institution you attended. Travel back in time to those days. Think about the skills that you were taught when you were in school to prepare you for the world of work. Think about the skills, whatever you were taught as you were preparing yourself for the world of work. Now, fast forward to when you started working. What are the skills that you discovered when you started working that you needed to have learned in school but hadn't learned, and therefore you had to learn them quickly to do your job well? What skills are those? Okay, still with our eyes closed, I want you to think about your career path. What other skills have you had to acquire over the years in order to do your current job well? Over the years, what are the skills that you've acquired so that you can do whatever you're currently doing well? I want you to think especially about the last 2 to 3 years. During COVID, post-COVID, that was a very tumultuous time, a time of great change. Since then, what are the skills you've had to quickly master in order to survive in your career? Okay. Now, from that experience, I want you to think about what the future looks like for your career, for your industry, for your current job. What do you think the future might look like? You know, when you try to project, when you try to predict, what do you think the future of work in your current career might look like? What can you predict about the future? What do you think the future will look like in your industry, in your organization, in your business, in your career? What do you think it will look like? Okay, the $1 million question is, are you ready? That's the $1 million question. Are you ready for this future? So, ladies and gentlemen, you may now open your eyes. I want to welcome you to our discussion this afternoon on the future of work. I want to discuss what will it take to build a future fit workforce? What will it take? So welcome. I would like to share my presentation. Just a second. Let me share my screen. Just a minute, I might be doing something wrong. Can you see my presentation?
Yes, we can. Just put it on slideshow, yes.
Slideshow, just a minute, slideshow. So let's begin. What will it take to build a future fit workforce? I hope from that little exercise you have some predictions, you know, and by the end of our afternoon, you'll have even more distinct predictions about what the future will look like. And more importantly, you will know what you need to do to prepare yourself. You know what you need to do to prepare your workforce or your business for this future that we're talking about. So I want to start with this quote. And this quote, this quote is a string for everything that you're going to talk about this afternoon. The only skill that will be important in the 21st century is the skill of learning new skills. Let me repeat that. The only skill that will be important in the 21st century is the skill of learning new skills. Everything else will become obsolete over time. We can attest to that. The things we thought we needed to know when we were in school, we got to work and we discovered they were not that important, although are new things that we needed to know. So the most important skill going forward is this skill that we call learning agility, the skill of learning new skills. My presentation this afternoon is centered on 3 W's. The first W, why is this topic important? Why is it important for us to future-proof our careers? Why is it important? Second W is, what is the objective of today's presentation? We'll discuss that. By the time I'm done with you, what do I hope to achieve? And number 3 is definitely a call to action. What will it take for you to be able to put into practice the things you'll have learned today? What is your call to action? So why is this topic of future-proofing your career important? The world of work is changing very fast, you know. When the whole world changes, you can't run your career or your business or your team the same old way. Tech has disrupted all industries and it's continuing to do so. Even in old legacy industries, you know, the industries we thought will always be the same and very few things will change. You cannot do things the way you used to do them, whether in finance or in HR, everything has changed. So everybody has to grow and change. And learning agility now becomes a key critical success factor going forward. Nothing is more important than your ability to quickly learn things. One of my favorite speakers, when she's talking to fresh graduates, she always opens with this line: I have good news for you and bad news. The bad news is that you don't get to clear school. You know, when you're graduating and you're preparing to graduate, you're thinking this is the end of me and many books and exams. But the bad news, she tells them, is you don't get to clear school. Why is that? When you get to work, you'll discover there are things which you need to learn, even if you've just graduated. As you continue progressing in your career, there are things you still need to continue learning so that you can do your job well. Now more than ever, learning agility is the most important critical success factor. So that is why she tells them, the bad news is, even as you're graduating, you don't get to clear school. Now, the good news is that we are living in the best time possible. I know there's so much going on, but this is actually the best time possible, because whatever it is that we need to succeed in our career or in our lives is largely in our control. Especially in this aspect of learning, upskilling, reskilling, we will get into all of that. It is all in your power, because unlike some time back when you needed to learn a new skill and you had to really think, where will I go to school, register for a physical class, pay school fees and all of that. Right now, whatever you want to learn is at the click of a button, and most probably for free. So all the success factors you need right now for your career are really in your control, and this is really the best time. She also tells them that there's never been a best time than right now to be young in Africa. Why is that? Because the world's youngest population is now in Africa. And in the next, they predict by 2030, 60% of the workforce will be found in Africa, which is why all the big companies of the world are really looking to Africa. By 2030, they say, well, 60% of the aging population will be in Asia, who are our closest competitors in terms of population. The inverse will be true for us. We will have the world's youngest workforce. And now everybody is shopping for their next employees in Africa. So that there are so many opportunities, and you have to place yourself in the perfect place to be able to take advantage of all these opportunities. And that is what we're discussing today. How do you future-proof your career so that you're able to take maximum advantage of these opportunities as a person, as an individual, and also for your organization or for your business in case you're into business. If you forget anything else I say today, please remember that learning agility. Let's continue. So what is the solution? I've already talked a bit about the solution to the problem that we have of future-proofing our careers. The pace of change in our world is accelerating. To remain competitive in such a dynamic environment, you need to future-proof your career. COVID taught us many things, and one of the things it taught us is that things can change in the blink of an eye. You know, whatever looks like this is what life is. You wake up tomorrow and your world has been turned upside down. If that happens, will your career survive? You know, and so many of the things many of us learned technologically wise actually were learned during COVID. You know, when we all used to prefer physical meetings and you show up to the office and all of that, and we learned, you know what, work can go on very, very well, or even better when people are working remotely. And there's so many things we had to learn in that moment. And so this is something that should be foremost on our minds when you're planning for our careers, planning for our teams. Will your career survive any sudden change? And even if the changes that we are talking about right now are gradual, will your career survive? So this means making sure that your career withstands and thrives despite technological advantages that are going to happen present or in the future. So how do you do this? You do this by adopting a digital DNA. This is the answer. How do you future-proof your career? Adopting a digital DNA. How do you future-proof your organization? Adopting a digital DNA. So, remember the exercise we did? The answer to that $1 million question, are you ready? You can only say you are ready if you have inculcated the culture, you have adopted the culture of a digital DNA. So what is a digital DNA? A digital DNA refers to the collection of digital skills, knowledge, and attitudes that individuals possess. So sometimes when you think of digital or technology, you think, I know my way around a machine and that's enough. No, there's so much more than that. There are those technical skills, digital skills, there's knowledge, and very importantly, attitudes that an individual possesses. That is what forms the digital DNA. We'll continue to talk more about this. So, skilling for a digital DNA. Anytime digital DNA is mentioned, there are two words that should come topmost of your mind: upskilling and reskilling. So what does upskilling mean? So upskilling involves learning an additional skill. So it's enhancing one's existing skills to keep up with ever-changing digital landscape. So maybe when you were in school, you studied accounts, CPAs, right? Then you get to the workplace, you discover, okay, Other than the traditional accounts that you studied, you must also know this software, QuickBooks, you must know this, you must know that. So they're simply adding on to the existing skills that you have. Coming to my field, maybe in HR, if your undergrad was in HR, you get into the field and you discover, oh, that was great. Now you need to become a certified human resource practitioner. You need to do a diploma, a higher diploma. You learn that you probably need to do a smaller separate course in this and that to enhance the skills that you already have. That is what we mean when we talk about upskilling. What do you mean when we talk about reskilling? So reskilling involves learning entirely new skills so that you're able to transform into a different career or industry. I'm a good example of reskilling. In my undergrad, a million years ago, I studied economics, and on the side, I was also doing CPAs out of peer pressure largely. However, I'm now in HR. So somewhere along the way, I had to learn totally new skills to enable me to excel in the career that I'm currently under. I hope that makes sense. Yeah. So both reskilling and upskilling are critical in developing a strong digital DNA and staying relevant in today's job market. So go back to that exercise that we did, right? I hope you are now getting ideas. As we said, predict the next 2, 3, 5 years in your career. What skills do you think you will need to have? Do you think your current career will survive the next 2, 3, 5 years? If it will survive, what do you need to learn from now going forward? Or that is upskilling to add to what you already have? Or do you need to take a totally different course and learn something totally new? Please keep thinking about that. So what are the in-demand skills for the future? To add to those that you already thought about, there are some skills that cut across all industries, whether you're in hospitality, whether you're in finance, whether you're in HR, whether you're in medicine. There are some skills that are in demand 2023 moving forward. And what are they? So on the technical side, there's digital marketing. Everybody must be able to know how to create content and sell that content. When we hear content, sometimes we imagine entertainers. No. Whether you're in agriculture, whether you're in medicine, whether you're a teacher, whether you're in business, you must be able to know how to package whatever it is you do and sell it. I hope most of you can remember when TikTok got into the market, and we all thought it's something for teenagers. Now, when you go to TikTok, you can find advice from a medical doctor on TikTok. Yesterday, I watched a very interesting video on geopolitics on TikTok. I also watched a very small documentary by Doctors Without Borders on some amazing work they're doing in South Sudan. And yet, when it first started, I thought this is something for teenagers. So, because right now, when people are looking for any skill or service or good, the first place they go to is to the internet. We no longer have yellow pages, right? So even when you're looking for a plumber or you're looking for mason, people go to the internet first. So depending on your preference, some people will go to IG, some people will go to Google, some people go to Facebook. So you must make sure that you're able to market yourself appropriately online. You must be able to come across as a thought leader. Most of you that I'm talking to are already business leaders, you're leading organizations, you're leading corporates. You need to position yourself as a thought leader. You volunteer to write articles in leading journals like KIM has a journal, IHRM has a journal. Most professional associations have their own magazines. You need to position yourself to be a thought leader. So those are some of the examples about how digital marketing can help you. And now to do this in a very professional way, you need to study a bit digital marketing. And again, like I said, in one instance, you can learn all of this for free. Another skill that is in demand moving forward is data analysis. Yes, we need to know the numbers, but you need to be able to tell us a story with the numbers. When you're presenting to your shareholders or to your members, you don't just throw the numbers at them. You must be able to analyze the data and tell a story with those numbers. So data analysis, data visualization is a very, very in-demand skill for the future. Agile project management. Actually, we'll discover that whether you're a marketer, whether you're in HR, whether you're in finance, each and every time you're doing a task, it's actually a project, right? And so being able to manage that project from start to end is a very much in-demand skill. Like we said again, these are things you can learn within a couple of hours and future-proof your career. What do we mean by UX design? UX design is simply user experience design. Any products that you come up with and you take it to the market and you think about that product from beginning to end, that is user design. And you think about, let's say you work in a circle and you're like, what product do our members need? Just that thought, coming up with that product, packaging that product, marketing that product, the branding for that product. And finally, when you take it to your consumers and you test it and they're using it and enjoying it and you're taking that feedback, all of that is user experience. And so we've discovered that everything is about selling, regardless of your industry. And so being able to properly manage that user experience is a very key, critical in-demand skill for the future. Cybersecurity, data protection is a big thing. You all remember the stories that have been going around about stolen identity and all the scams. And all of these are because at some point, the right data got into the wrong hands. So when you're running a business and organization, being able to protect your data or being able to protect yourself online is a very much in-demand skill, regardless of your industry. Those are the technical skills. Now let's deep dive into the soft skills. Before I go into the soft skills, one of the questions somebody asked ahead of this, ahead of our today's presentation was something about the generational wars and how can the Gen Zs and the millennials and the baby boomers work in harmony? And one of the things that employers complain about now is that the younger workforce don't have soft skills, right? If you've ever tried to interview the younger generation, you will know that from experience, you could have arranged the interview, they have confirmed the time and all of that. And when the time comes, the person doesn't show. They did not reject the invitation. They did not say they were coming. They have not called in advance to say they got into an accident or anything. They just don't show. So before, out of curiosity, because I really like to understand, like you're a candidate, you applied for this position, I've invited you for an interview, you confirmed what happened. So I'd call them and just to find out what happened. And the person on the other side would be so casual. They'd be like, oh yeah, so can we do this tomorrow? Like nothing happened. They just didn't take it seriously. So that's something very many employers complain about with the younger workforce, that they lack the professional soft skills that are needed to excel in the workplace. What do we mean by these professional soft skills? First is a professional polish. This one is wide. It moves from email etiquette to dressing, business English. Have you ever received an email? And when you open the email, there's a very, very, very impressive CV, you know, somebody with very good skills, but the way the email has been done, the way the subject has been done, leaves you wondering whether the person who sent the email and the owner of the CV are the same person, right? So those are things that moving forward are going to be very, very important. And I'm really impressed that many schools, for the longest time, schools did not have like a finishing program, you know, where they would prepare their graduates for the market, you know, with small things like that, which look like common sense, but are no longer common sense. And it's a very encouraging thing to see schools nowadays take that step ahead to prepare the finalists, tell them this is how you write a CV, this is how you dress for an interview, this is how you communicate and all that, because most people have the qualifications and they have the skills, but there is often a gap in their soft skills. Learning agility, the one I said, if you forget everything else I've said, remember digital DNA and learning agility. What is learning agility? So learning agility is that ability to see that there's a gap in your skill set, know how you can bridge this gap, what you need to study, where you need to study, and quickly study it. So you're forever learning. And so having that attitude of someone who forever wants to learn is very, very interesting, is very, very important, because things are always changing. Even if you graduated last month, you go to work this month, you discover that things have changed. Things are evolving very, very fast. So you must have that learning agility. You never get to a point of deciding, I know everything there is to know about this topic or this industry. No, there's always something to learn. Even when we are interviewing, one of the key things as a recruiter that we now look at is, especially at a senior level, is learning agility. Because sometimes you could have all the paper qualifications, but if you're rigid in how you approach learning, then so much will pass you by. And so that's something we must make sure that we ourselves have and we inculcate in our workforce. Critical thinking, the ability to know that there's so many sides to a story, there's so many sides to a business, there's so many sides to any scenario, and being able to evaluate this side, that side, and come up with a solution. Actually, the end result of critical thinking should be coming up with solutions. So solution solving. Are you the kind of person who comes up with solutions when there's a problem, or do you see the problem and it ends there? So these are some of the soft skills that we're seeing are very much in demand right now moving forward, which we must inculcate in ourselves and in our team for us to future-proof our careers and future-proof our team's career. Let me go to the next one of creativity and storytelling. I once attended a conference on, it was a medical conference, and one of the presenters was a surgeon, and his presentation was titled Surgery, the Forgotten Stepchild in Medicine. Now, can you imagine if he had come up to the presentation and he's given us figures and all of that? Well, he would have lost many of us, but he started with this story about this boy who he met when he was about 5 years, and how he was not playing with his peers, he wasn't going to school, and he didn't know what the issue was, and he never saw him walk. And he took us through a very emotional story of how apparently this boy's deformity was caused by something surgery could easily fix. And the organization that he was working for does free surgeries for children, and they were able to totally changed the life of this young man, this young boy. At that point, he was a young man, and he had photos of how this boy used to be like, how he used to look, and now how he looks right now. We were all glued to his every word. Actually, at the end of his presentation, whatever he wanted from us, we would have happily given him. You see, for you to be able to convince your audience, you must first touch the emotions. And after you've touched the emotions, then you can convince their minds. So creativity and storytelling is a very, very, very important soft skill to learn. Now, moving forward, just have a look at some of the most popular websites. You'll see people are gearing more and more towards storytelling. They want to show you this person had this problem, our product came and solved the problem, and he lived happily ever after, which moves you and touches you more than being presented with just raw data or raw information. Communication and collaboration. Communication is somebody who said that all the problems we have most probably result from poor communication or lack of communication. So being able to communicate effectively, being able to communicate with impact, pass your message across is a very much in demand skill moving forward. So very few people are born orators. Again, like I said, at the click of a button, you can learn how to polish up your presentation skills, how to polish up your public speaking skills, because somebody said, every time you open your mouth, you tell the world who you are. So being able to effectively communicate is a top skill that you must have. Collaboration. In today's world, you cannot be a superstar by yourself. You must be able to work with other people. And that's something which we must always remind young people. You could be really good at what you do, but you must be able to work with other people. And that is a soft skill that is not common sense anymore. Resilience and adaptability. What is resilience? That ability to bounce back. When life throws its curves, are you able to bounce back? Are you adaptable, or does the world end? So these are very much in-demand skills, 2023, moving forward. So my point is, as I was talking about all of this, think about yourself, think about your team. Do you have these skills? And if you don't, where do you get them? Let's continue. I love this quote. Upgrading your skills is not an option, but a necessity. If your career is to thrive, if your career is to survive and to thrive, upskilling, reskilling is not an option, it's a necessity. Remember when computers were being introduced at first, it looked like a good thing to have, but not a must. But right now, it's unfathomable that any work can go on without computers. So that's the thing with technology and with change, and we're preparing ourselves for this change. Upskilling, reskilling is not an option, it is a necessity. So what are you supposed to do with the information that I've shared? What action are you supposed to take, right? Before I talk about the action you're supposed to take, I want us to do an exercise for just 1 minute. please cooperate. I might not be able to see you, but I need you to cooperate. Okay. Now I need you to take a pen and paper or the notepad on your phone, somewhere you can write. Remember the exercise we did at the beginning where I asked you to think back to when you were in school, to think back to your first job and where you currently are and the skills that you've had to acquire. Remember when we talked about the future? Now I need you to think about your particular industry, your particular career, your particular profession. I need you to write at least 5 skills, technical, that you think you need to acquire for your career to survive and thrive in the next 2-3 years. Please write them down. What are 5 technical skills that you think you must acquire for you to succeed and thrive in the next 5 years? In HR, I can give you an example. Data analytics. That's just an example of a technical skill. So for each of your industry, there are very specific skills that you need to acquire. Just think about it in the next 2-3 years and also write soft skills. Looking at what I have shared, your understanding of yourself, your understanding of your profession and your organization. What are soft skills that you need to acquire soonest possible so that your career can survive and thrive? A soft skill for anybody can be negotiation skills. You need to be able to get the best value for your money when you're dealing with suppliers or contractors. That's an option. Getting the best value for your money, so you need negotiation skills. So write for me the soft skills that you need to acquire in the next 2-3 years for you to be able to survive and thrive in your current career. Okay, let's talk about the call to action for an individual. So every individual must commit to upskill and reskill as appropriate. That list I've asked you to do, you need to commit to upskilling and reskilling. Each of those skills, please write, where do you think you can learn this? And if you don't know, you can ask me. Where do you think you can learn this? Where do you think you can learn data analytics? Where do you think you can learn digital marketing? Where do you think you can learn negotiation skills? You see, when you write something down, it's something it does to your brain that convinces you to take yourself seriously and actually do this. Yeah? The second thing I need you to do to be ready for the future is to be very self-aware and have emotional intelligence. I was really glad to see that one of the topics that you covered in the past year was emotional intelligence. So you see, we're living in a very fast changing world. There's a geopolitics that is constantly happening, a war here, a war there. We all know that the entire world is undergoing an economic recession right now. We know the particular problems we're facing in our country. Have you noticed somebody was saying Kenyans are just angry, like everybody's dealing with a lot on their plate. So this means when you're working with people and you're doing business, you must always be aware that the person you're seeing at the office is coming in with a lot of baggage. You don't know what happened on their way to work. You don't know what happened at home. You don't know what is happening back in the village. It is true that very many people have not even recovered from the trauma, of COVID, where they lost loved ones, they lost livelihoods, they had to shut down their businesses. My point is people are dealing with a lot. So being able to extend grace and kindness and compassion to other people when you're working with them is a very, very key critical skill. Otherwise, then you will have needless conflict, and the person that suffers when there's needless conflict is your work and your business. So having emotional intelligence is a non-negotiable for the workplace that we have right now. When the person who was asking about the generational wars asked that question, I hope they will get to tackle it later, of course. This is something you need to have to be able to work very well with people who are old or younger in emotional intelligence. No, what does this young person want? They probably want autonomy when working. They don't want to be micromanaged. So come up with a way to work with this person such that you both meet your expectations, you get what you're looking for from the person, and there's no conflict. For you to be able to know how to address each and every person or relate with each and every person, regardless of their age or their background, it calls for emotional intelligence. Self-awareness is knowing who you are, what you're about, what matters to you, what is important to you, what legacy do you want to leave, what impact do you want to have. You see the thing that we're talking about, reskilling, upskilling, constantly learning, you never get to finish school. All of these are a lot of work that is going to go into future-proofing your career. Now, the truth is, this is not something you can do very well if you're not passionate about whatever it is that you're doing. For you to be excellent, you need to be passionate about what you're doing. It needs to be something that you actually want to do. Remember when I said that this is the best time to be African and this is the best time to be an employee and all of that because your career is in your hands? Yes, there are lots of opportunity, but for you to be able to take full advantage of this opportunity, you must be excellent. And it is very hard to be excellent at something that you're not passionate about. So how will you know something you're passionate about or not passionate about? Self-awareness, where you're like, I really want to do this. This is the area of my gifting. This is what I'm interested in. Therefore, I am willing to put in the work to be very good at this. That's where self-awareness comes in. There is such a wonderful thing that is happening in the world of work. Work has now become very fluid. We can all attest to that. You can work from home. You can work remotely. We now talk about boomerang employees, on-ramping, off-ramping. So let me just, boomerang employees are employees who leave an organization and come back. You see, the world of work is such that nowadays when somebody resigns or leaves an organization, it's no longer an act of treason, or this. They're no longer seen as being disloyal. Their time in that organization has simply come to an end. They have seen another opportunity elsewhere, another growth area, and they're going to pursue it. And then later, when this organization they left has grown and they have something that interests them, they can always come back. And now they come back and they add so much value. They come and say, that place I'd gone to, I found they do things like this, and at least we can adapt that, we can try that. So those are what we call boomerang employees. Off-ramping is when you decide to take a break in your career. You're not leaving for good, you're just taking a break and you decide, you know what, I need to take care of a sick partner or young children, or I want to study, or I just want to take a break and pursue my own business or my own passions and interests, and I'll be back. That is off-ramping. On-ramping now is when you decide, oh, I pursued that, I've done this, I'm ready to come back. That is on-ramping. And then you've noticed that nowadays there's so many models of work. You can be a part-time employee in a certain organization for a very long time, but you can also be a full-time employee in another organization for very short gigs. So you're fully engaged in this organization, but for a very short time. You can also be a contractor, like you work for this organization, that organization, that organization. And so for you to actually be in demand, for your skills to be in demand here, there, for you to take advantage of this fluid world of work, you must be excellent. That is where self-awareness comes in. And now I hope, as I talked about the way work has now been fluid, you get to ask yourself, with all of these opportunities, you no longer have to be in a specific job all the time. How do I take advantage of all of these opportunities that are open to me? Number 3, call to action for each individual is encourage yourself and encourage others to monetize their skills and talents and create their own jobs. Sometimes when people hear about creating a job, they always automatically think of business, opening a shop, or agriculture. That's not necessarily it. Whatever skills that you acquired at school, or whatever profession you're in, whatever career you are in, you can be an independent contractor, and that is what is creating your own job. You can decide, I did IT, and the way the workplace, the way the job market is that it cannot possibly absorb everybody. It cannot possibly absorb all the graduates. So schools must now get away from preparing people for jobs to preparing people also to be self-employed. You decide, okay, I'm a programmer, and so I'm going to be a contractor. You give me a contract, I set this up for you. You give me a contract, I do this for you, and all of that. That way you're creating your own employment. You're in HR, you can decide to be a consultant. Whichever profession you are in, you can easily create your own job. And you can also monetize the skills and the talents and the abilities you have that are even removed from your core job. Let's say you cook really well. So 8 to 5, You're an accountant over the weekends, you cater at weddings, you cater at birthday parties, you get an extra coin. See, many of the things that make people are unhappy in modern times come from financial insecurity. And so being able to monetize whatever ability and skill you have will release a lot of that financial pressure that people feel. And that way you'll future-proof your career, because the financial challenges the whole world is experiencing will not get you down. Call to action now as leaders. All of you, most of you are leaders, right? What is a call to action? It is imperative that you inculcate a digital DNA in your workforce. How do you go about inculcating a digital DNA in your workforce? I will handle that in the next slide. So that is imperative. As a leader, as you walk away from our session today, oh, sorry, are you saying something, Brian?
So sorry for that. The slides are okay. Eh?
Okay.
Just had a concern whether we are moving in tandem with the slides, but I see we are okay.
Okay. Thank you. So, as a business leader, as a leader of your organization, as a leader of a team, how do you make sure that you cultivate a digital DNA in your workforce? Remember how we were able to define what a digital DNA is? You need to go back to that definition and then take a deep dive within your organization. Ask yourselves, what are the skills that this organization needs to survive the next 2-3 years? Yeah, they could be digital skills, they're going to be attitudes, they're going to be technical skills, they're going to be soft skills. What are the things that we need to learn for us to survive for us to survive and thrive, for us to future-proof our organization? And once you've done, and once you have identified the needs of your organization, then you can come up with a way forward, a program for that. And my next slide is going to perfectly address this concern. As a leader, to future-proof your organization, you must prioritize employee wellness. This is a very key factor for the future workforce. Many of you have heard about the Great Resignation. What was the Great Resignation? Post-COVID, in some industries, there was almost like an en masse strike, you know. This happened a lot in the Western world, where many people decided to leave work. You know, they were unhappy about work, they were unhappy about stagnant wages, they were unhappy about organizations that refused to allow for remote work once COVID subsided. So people were unhappy about many things over the years, but there was a tipping point during COVID that led to the Great Resignation. So people sort of got rid of the old fear of walking away from work, right? And even with our young generation, where people are doing very many things on the side, people are no longer afraid to leave work. And can you imagine, after you have trained somebody, you've invested in the recruitment process, in the training, and something small that could be easily avoided ticks somebody off, and you have a whole team resigning on you. So how do you avoid things like the Great Resignation? Make sure that you prioritize employee wellness. You've all probably also heard of quiet quitting, where instead of somebody deciding, I'm unhappy with my job, I'm going to resign, they now stay, but they do the bare minimum, the bare minimum, and it's at your cost. So how do you make sure that you don't have these people who are there physically, but they're not engaged, they're not loyal, they're not giving value for their money, they're simply doing the bare minimum by prioritizing employee wellness? So as a leader, your call to action today, other than calculating a digital DNA in your workforce, is to prioritize employee wellness. This way, you're going to future-proof your organization, your business, and you're going to have a future-fit workforce. Sometimes people get afraid of investing a lot in training, and they're like, what if I train this person? We do all of these things, we take the entire organization through this, and then the people leave. So you've probably heard of this quote, but let's repeat it. The only thing worse than training your employees and they leave is not training them and they stay. That's the only thing worse. So you don't have to fear that you're going to train people and then they leave. It is worse if you don't train them and then they stay. So allow me to introduce myself again. I'm Kirota Mwiti. I head talent at Africa Digital Media Institute. One of the programs we have is called Accelerated. It is a program for upskilling professionals. So what do we do at Accelerated? Demand for skilled talent is on the rise. Technological innovation and automation have severely altered the employment landscape. We have gone through this. So the World Economic Forum has projected that almost all employees will require reskilling and upskilling to cope with the changing work requirements. I hope when we did that exercise where you were thinking about what your future career looks like, it became apparent to you that regardless of your current profession, regardless of your industry, you will require to reskill and upskill. So Accelerated equips professionals with the future forward skills they need to drive in a digital workplace. Our sole mission is to help you adapt to the new world of work. So remember when I said I will answer the question of what does the leader need to do in order to inculcate the digital DNA in his employees? Here is your answer. Accelerated. We're here to help you adapt to the new world of work. So we offer sought after skills of today and the future. Get access to free resources, events, free training by just emailing skills@joinaccelerated.com. You can also just check us out on our various social media platforms, Twitter, Instagram, Facebook, joinaccelerated.com. And if you have any concerns you'd like to reach out to me later, Brian has my contact and he can easily arrange that. So remember when I said that I would have an answer for the leader who's wondering, how do I inculcate a digital DNA in my workforce? Just give us a call, come and sit with you and help you chart out a program of how you can inculcate that digital DNA in your workforce. I'm charting out that program, giving you resources, training, events, all that is for free. Just reach out. So I'm looking forward to the questions that you have. I can't wait for us to engage because only from your questions will I know what wasn't clear, what more you would like. This is a very wide topic and today was just the tip of the iceberg. What I do hope though is that it has ignited a fire in you to do whatever it will take to future-proof your career and future-proof your organization. Brian, the questions?
Thank you very much, Mrs. Koroto-Mwiti, for that presentation. Very good topic. I've learned a lot of titles from ranging from boomerang employees of ramping, on ramping, and the entire presentation has been very insightful and we are very grateful. I think you can see from the comments that we're receiving from the members in the chat box. Great insight. Thank you for this session. Ms. Korote, you're a very good communicator. People who are glued to the presentation. I was glued as well, and I've learned a lot in relation to the topic of the day, and really appreciate you sparing some time to be with us and with our members to share your expertise in this area. I'll go straight into the question and answer session. I'm seeing, I think there's just before you go into the, there's a comment there by Sophie Ndungu. If you could please put back the slide on the only thing worse than training employees. Then we'll be going straight into the question and answer session as you're doing that. I think it's a quote. Thank you. Thank you. I think that is okay. Sophie, I hope you were able to capture that. We'll go straight into the question and answer session. The first question that has come, I think you had alluded to it in relation to the generational wars. There seems to be a we versus them mentality. How do you bridge the gap between millennials and the Gen Z? I think we'll start with that, then I'll give you the rest of the questions as they come.
I really do enjoy discussions around Gen Z because I've been in recruitment, I've experienced firsthand how different our generations are. You, even as old as me or older, remember when you'd be invited for an interview, you'd be so excited, you'd prepare yourself, you would find that venue, you'd probably be there a whole hour earlier. Yeah, so it was so interesting now when I was recruiting now younger and younger people, and I I had to follow up and like, where are you? You know, or why did you come? And it's been very interesting. I will say that there are very many things about Gen Z that I really admire. I admire the way they're able to advocate for themselves. I admire their way they're very self-aware. You've seen these jokes and they are true. The younger generation will tell you this job is stressful, I am not doing this, and they will happily walk away without looking back. Things people in my generation backwards would never have thought of doing. So there's so much. The first thing is realizing that there's a lot to be learned. Whether you're a Gen Z or a millennial or a baby boomer, there's so much to learn. There's so much I learned from Gen Zs, you know, their ability to advocate for themselves. They have such agency over their lives and over their career. They are very courageous and bold and outspoken. There's so much to learn. For them also, there's so much they can learn from older generations. There's nothing good that comes without a struggle. So a job that might seem to be too challenging or too demanding will probably yield a lot much more for you if you hang in there and work through the challenges, learn what you need to learn, and imagine the other side better. But there's that thing that many young people don't have nowadays, that resilience and adaptability, where if you face certain challenges and you're able to ask yourself, okay, what do I need to do to be able to overcome this challenge? Or even when you get negative feedback and you think, okay, so I got feedback that I didn't like. However, is there some truth in it? Is there something I can take from that feedback that can help me be a better professional? So the first thing I would say about this generational wars is really just that humility of accepting there is so much you can learn from other generations. Every generation has its strong points and its weaknesses. And this us versus them has always been there. You know, even with the previous generations, always felt we are better, you know, we don't do things like you. So this is a problem that is as old as time. The first thing, therefore, is appreciating that there's a lot that we can learn from each other. Number two, then, is the emotional intelligence that I was talking about. Being able to extend grace and compassion and understanding to the other person before you judge them and before you write them off. And the other thing is now self-awareness, where you're able to, you know yourself, you know what you can take, what you can't take, you know what your weaknesses are, and you are actively working towards changing them into strengths. If we do these three things, we will find there'll be reduced friction in the workplace. And the challenge I always give when I meet educators is they have a lot to do to prepare the fresh graduates for the world of work. We see that there's such a huge gap when it comes to work appropriate soft skills, professional soft skills. There is a huge gap, and that gap can be bridged if schools took some time to prepare their graduates, their finalists for the world of work. Yes, you have given them all the technical skills that they need. Now you need to sit them down and tell them, now you're going to the world of work, you'll find people older than you, you will find people who are in charge of you. If you want to be respected, you want to be taken seriously, you must feel yourself to be a responsible person, a reliable person. You want to be given a good job, you must feel yourself to be responsible. I find many young people don't like to be called all the time and all that, but if you don't want to be called all the time, show yourself to be a reliable person. So the onus is really also on schools, training institutions, even us, as we talk to our young cousins, our nephews and nieces, our children, to inculcate those professional soft skills in them that school might not, because they're very much needed in the workplace. I hope I have answered that question well.
Yes, thank you. Thank you very much for that response. On to the next question. What is your opinion about continuous learning or continuing learning in retirement?
There was a time when retirement used to really scare me, because there's some people I was interacting with and they looked absolutely bored, you know, like they had no idea what they're supposed to do with their lives. And you could tell that now, because of that, the quality of their life had also reduced, not even because of money, because they no longer had something driving them. So the first thing I'm going to talk about, even before I talk about retirement, is purpose and impact. That thing of self-awareness is where you ask yourself, what legacy do I want to leave in the world? What is my purpose? And you see, there's no shelf life for that. Whatever your purpose is, whatever impact you want to have in the world, whatever legacy you want to leave, there's no shelf life for that. You can do that up until your last day on earth. The end of your career, the end of your job when you retire does not mean now the end of your impact, the end of your purpose, the end of your legacy. So that, first of all, identifying what is my purpose? What is it that I want to do in this world and be remembered for? What legacy do I want to leave? You see, that will outlive your formal work engagement. And therefore, past your formal work engagement, you will still be pursuing your purpose. You'll still be pursuing your legacy. You'll still be living a life of impact, right? So because of that, there is nothing stopping you from continuing to learn. Let's say I have decided that maybe I'm an architect by training, but one of the legacies I want to leave is that I want to be able to show that you can build sustainable houses that are dignifying even for low-income areas. Have you ever gone sometimes to a low-income area and you're like, but why couldn't this person just build a house they themselves can live in? So maybe I've decided as an architect, one of the legacies I'm going to leave is that I'm going to educate people that they can still build structures that are dignifying and beautiful even in low-income areas. So you see, maybe I'm employed by the Ministry of Works, but even after I'm retired, this is something I can continue doing. But now that I have retired, there will always be new developments in that industry. So for me to actually really impact my industry, I must continue learning. That's just an example. And past retirement then, and you have a purpose and you're still a member of a professional association, you are volunteering in the PTAs and the boards of the schools that are near you, or the schools your children or your children attend. For you to actually be able to speak relevantly, you must keep up to date with the new developments in that industry. So I would say, if you're thinking about retirement, it's very important to understand what your purpose and legacy is, because that will go way past your retirement. I hope that helps.
Thank you. On to the next question. What strategies would you recommend to start transforming employees so that they are ready for the future or the future workplace?
So this is asking about, I said the answer to the question about future-proofing your career and future-proofing your organization is inculcating a digital DNA. So where do you start? So I would say the first point is do a deep dive. You see that exercise that I gave us? Now you need to do that exercise for your organization, for yourself, for your team, and for your organization. Looking at what you have. See, when you're doing a needs assessment, you see, what do I currently know? What do I need to know? So what do we need to know? What do we need to know for the future? And how will we go about acquiring that knowledge? And I would like to really extend the invitation that I gave as Accelerated. We are here very eager to help you start on this journey of inculcating that digital DNA in your employees. So please give us a call. Brian?
Thank you. Thank you. On to the next one. What are your predictions for the workplace in relation to the following areas: working hours, performance evaluations, workspace, attire, dress code, and issues to do with office size or size of the establishment? I think that would be our last question. And then if you could give us a response to that. You're able to capture all the items?
Please repeat.
I'd mentioned working hours, performance evaluations, workspace, and issues to do with attire or dress code.
Okay.
Yes.
So this is lovely. This is lovely. The future of work, the beauty about the future of work and where work is currently going, like I said, is work is so fluid right now. And we're now focusing on what is actually important. So in many organizations, nobody cares what time you came or if you came or why you're dressed and your working hours, so long as you deliver. So the focus is going to be simply on delivering results. What have you been contracted to do? Remember when I talked about right now you can have a full-time gig that is a very short-lived 2-3 months, but you're fully engaged there. Somebody else has a long-term gig, but it's part-time. So the focus is going to be, we have contracted you to do this, deliver it. So whether you're gonna do it from your home or from upcountry or from the beach or from the mountaintop whether you're gonna work at midnight to do it, so long as you deliver. So the emphasis, future, it's already happening, and that is where the world is going to go to, is simply on delivering results. What have you been contracted to do? Delivering. So you see the issues of what time did you come in, what time did you leave? We have now seen, and research has shown, that simply having people physically in a workspace does not mean work is going on. You could have somebody there from 6 a.m. to 9 p.m. and they're doing things that have nothing to do with the organization. So now we're no longer measuring impact, or we're not measuring results by you being physically present in a building or you being physically present in an office. No, it's simply delivering results. So in the thing of working hours for the future, it won't matter if you're able to deliver in 1 hour or 5 hours. Pay will be based on delivering results. You have been contracted to do this particular thing. If you take a week, if you take a month, it's all up to you. Delivering results, you get paid. When it comes to performance evaluation, same thing. It will simply be very succinct. You expected to do 1, 2, 3. Did you deliver? Period. Not did you deliver while you were at the beach or in the mountain or by sitting here every day. No. Did you deliver? That's it. When it comes to workspace, many organizations have seen since COVID, they had to give up a lot of workspace because it was no longer required, because many people are choosing to work from home. As much as I love the remote working, I'll also be the first one to admit, being in HR, that there's a lot of value to be gotten when people once in a while come to the office. There's an engagement that happens when people meet physically, when you have some meetings physically. So the best workplaces are those that are able to build a hybrid. When people are fully remote, there's some disadvantages. To be honest, there's some disadvantages in the fully remote. There's a certain engagement that gets lost. On the other hand, you also don't want to go to the dark old days of telling people to be at a certain building between certain hours, come rain or sunshine, right? So in the future, workspaces are going to be on a need-to-need basis. That is why now we have so many office blocks that you can rent as you need. If you need this week, I think I have several in-person meetings, then I will rent that space. Next week, I might not have so many in-person meetings. I'll be working from a remote area. I no longer need to pay rent. So workspaces will be on a need-to-need basis. Attire will also be as per situation. See, with people working from home, people working from whichever location, you have no idea what they are wearing, and it is not important at all so long as they're delivering. So attire will depend on case by case. If we have an in-person meeting, we have a board meeting, or we have a stakeholders meeting, we have an AGM, then you will specify, for this time, is this happening? Come dressed like this. But day to day, nobody will be interested anymore in how you're dressed when you are in your home, so long as you're delivering results. I hope I've answered the question.
Yes, thank you. Thank you very much for those responses. Very insightful and very educative. At this point, I will close over the question and answer session. I'll be inviting Mr. Raymond Mwangi, Head of Shared Services at KIM, to give us the closing remarks. Karibu HSS.
Sorry, my mic was muted. Thank you very much, Brian. Very, very interesting presentation. I hope we continue with this presentation today or at a later date. Very insightful, very enlightening. Remember when you began the presentation and we closed the eyes and we took us back to the trainings that we went through. It took me back to primary school where we were being trained on how to prepare pajamas and muiko, the cooking stick. And I'm just imagining of the 500 students who sat KCP that year, how many of them have benefited from those skills, and how long it takes today at EPZ to, just to make one pajama. My take home from this, and I think for everyone, is reskilling and upskilling. I think we share some form of background with Ms. Kirote. My undergraduate was in marketing, but I had to reskill for me to fit in the HR environment. But for the survival of every individual, we have to continuously upskill and reskill if you are to survive in the future workplace. I take this opportunity also to thank all the participants. The response has been quite overwhelming. I think that is a testament to the confidence and the quality of today's presentation. Thank you very much for joining us in this for this presentation and the kind of engagement that you've given us. I also want to thank Brian and team for a job well done in preparing for this webinar. The webinars come, we have them twice a month. I think they've been doing a great job. They keep improving, and we expect to see much more going forward. Finally, wow, to our presenter. Well done. Well done. One of my best webinars, very insightful. This is an area that is quite new, but you've really brought it out very well and in very simple language that everyone was able to understand and relate to. So for Mrs. Kirote, well done for that. And we hope that we should be engaging you later for probably a continuation of this session or for any other session. With that said and done, I'd want to say thank you. Please look out for the next webinar that will be advertised soon. And thank you for joining us in today's webinar. Therefore, good night, good evening, and take care. Thank you.
Allow me to say something.
Okay, yes, go ahead. Sorry.
No problem at all. I will leave us all with this quote that many of us have probably already had. Success is when opportunity finds preparation. Success is an opportunity finds preparation. So let's prepare ourselves for this future that we already see coming. Thank you very much. I'm honored by your time and your attention. I look forward to many more engagements. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Mrs. Kirote. Thank you very much. I think we'll close the session there. Thank you everyone for joining us. Good evening and God bless.
Thank you.